Hello there. My name is Robert Muigai, but all my friends call me Bob, so you can call me Bob too. And I am coming to you straight from my bedroom, answering some pertinent questions that I was told to answer, rather asked to answer about ADHD. So I'm not a professional, so I'm just giving what I know about ADHD. So ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And as you may guess from the name, it's a condition where those who are affected by ADHD are unable to pay attention while performing most of their daily tasks. And so it affects people in different ways, as a child, not being able to sit still, or being impulsive, or whatnot. So that is a short definition of ADHD. Right, so when was I diagnosed with ADHD? So this was in early 2008 when I had just started high school, and everyone thought that it was just adolescence, nothing more. But then when we went to hospital, they actually found out that I was going through severe depression. And then through the treatment of my depression, rather diagnosing further conditions, that's when it was discovered that I had ADHD. So yeah, that's when I was diagnosed with it. So I've been living with it for 12 years now. So yeah, I keep on forgetting, and I constantly have to keep on reminding myself. Alright, so the next question is, what did I feel about the diagnosis? And obviously, at first, I was so confused because this is something that I literally just found out about when the doctor told me that this is something that you have. So, I was in a state of shock. I was confused. It did help that there were a number of us who were diagnosed at more or less the same time. But, I was really confused at first, but then later when I got to process it, that's when I realized, several bells from my past were ringing, how, in primary, I was always hyperactive, always doing everything and not paying much attention to certain things, but all of a sudden it just came to this moment of revelation, and then several things from my past just started making sense. And how did ADHD affect my teen years? Sorry. And generally, I think people did not understand me. I remember once telling someone or telling my class that I had ADHD, and then someone was just oh, it's a dining hall disease. Obviously this was very clever, but at some point I just felt misunderstood, and no one understood the trouble that I was going through to just perform tasks that may seem simple to everyone else. So it was very confusing. And then at the time, because remember I told you I was also going through depression, I was put on very severe antidepressants, and I kid you not, it literally felt like someone was putting a load on me and telling me whenever I wanted to act up or just to be myself, it felt like everything was just pulling me down. And at some point that was the most, I think one of the possibly the lowest moments in my life, where I could feel that this was what I was meant to be, but then because of the drugs that I was taking, I was being made to this, lowered from this to this. So it was very, very confusing, and actually that's one of the main things that led me to stop taking the medication that I was on. And then how did it affect me while in school? So as I mentioned, I was diagnosed in high school. And obviously, because when you're in a boarding school in Kenya, if you take a week off or 2 weeks ago, somehow it just affects your performance, right? So when I was being diagnosed, my performance took a dip, and then they started going up. And then at some point, I didn't realize that I was doing so many things at once, right? The hyperactivity. So I remember there was one point I was in drama, I was in the science congress, I was doing quite a lot of things, and at some point when I had too much on my plate, my performance was going down, was suffering. But I was able to find a workaround, and it took a lot of sacrificing the things that I loved just so that I could get a grade that was good enough to get me into university. So how did ADHD affect my social life? And I think this just begins from high school, because when I told people that I had ADHD, they always thought that you have this condition because you lack the attention from your parents, and that wasn't the case. My diagnosis is, I don't say it's a problem because I've grown to accept it now, but then my issue was, it's not that I wasn't receiving attention, it's just that I wasn't able to give attention to normal everyday tasks that everyone would. So for instance, this really presents itself, let's say, when it comes to like meeting someone and then they tell me their name. And I always forget people's names like within 2 seconds. And sometimes it's really annoying because, you know, you're connecting with someone like at such like a mental or whatever level, but then you forget their name and then suddenly like it feels like that connection is broken. So it's always very embarrassing, but I always forget people's names. Even sometimes my mom's name I forget her, but I think it's because I call her mom, and in African culture, you know, you can't really call your parents by their first name, otherwise you will go to hell apparently. But yeah, so definitely in terms of forgetting names, like that really has affected my social life. And then also something that I used to do quite a lot in university was whenever I find people talking and they're having such a deep discussion, I mean, in my mind, like it's like I forget that they're already having a discussion and I just waltz into the conversation and completely change the topic. And it's only like a few people who brought it out to me, and obviously they were trying to help me and I really appreciate that. But it was really annoying to them, like when I just like walk in with a big smile and just like change the conversation and then walk away, and then not only do I leave myself confused, but I also leave them confused. So I also had to learn how to like read the mood in a room before walking in. And then also, I don't know if I can put this on my ADHD, but I mean, I guess it just goes back to the whole aspect about not being able to pay attention for long periods of time. But then something that has always been happening, like both at work and socially, is that I will always come up with like the most inappropriate corny jokes at the most inappropriate time. And obviously some people will laugh, take it kind, but then some people are like, this guy is so weird, like why are you doing that? And in a way it like keeps them away from befriending me. So yeah, that's one of the downside. And then the one thing that I can say that I've really sort of benefited was that the friends who took the time to understand me and my condition are like some of the closest friends that I currently have. So in a way, that was the one positive about like my social life. Even though I was able to lose like so many people, I was able to make so many genuine friends. So I think it's an easy takeaway. What treatment options did I use and did they work for me? So as I mentioned, when like after being discharged, like I was put on quite a lot of medication. I remember at some point I actually was taking 6 tablets, capsules or whatever you want to call them, like a day. And as I said, like they were very, very, I mean, they were antidepressants, but to me it felt like they were suppressants. Like it literally felt like I was being brought down to a level that I shouldn't be. And you know, that really like made me feel uneasy, so I stopped taking them. And then I also did pursue counseling, and this really did help me because I think my psychologist at the time was very aware of the condition. And one thing I also benefited from was also group therapy. So we also had like a bunch of other teenagers who were suffering from the same condition, and then we were all given therapy like at the same time. And it really helps, just like learning not only from the psychiatrist but then from other people's experiences. And to the point where like when it was time for me to go back and do my community service in university, like I actually decided to go back to the same hospital where I was diagnosed so that I could help other people who had the same condition. What was my family's reaction to the diagnosis? And as I said at first, like we were all quite much very confused because this is something that we did not know like what it was, right? ADHD, if you ask someone on the street, like they don't know what it is, right? So at some point it was like some sort of confusion, but at some point when my family like took the time to understand me, like they were very supportive, you know, my siblings. And then also one thing that I love about my mom is that she really didn't hold me back from trying anything that I wanted. And I think that approach really helped because obviously I studied law, and then at the bar school, you know, when everyone is like, the bar exams are like really hard, right? And then at some point I realized that I was so stressed, and I decided to just come up with a YouTube channel. So I started making YouTube videos, and I used to send my mom the videos when I was done, and she was very supportive just because she let me do things my way. I mean, obviously knew that I had to study, but my mom was very supportive, and she was just like, you know, if you want to do this, do this. And I think my mom giving me the freedom to like plan like how I was gonna spend my time, that really did help me quite a lot. What would you tell someone diagnosed with ADHD? and this was something that I also had to tell myself through journaling. And obviously, the first thing that I would tell you is that it's very, very important for you to document your feelings. And even now, like, this is a journal. You can see it's like a bit torn, but this is a journal that I've had for like 13 years. And like, whenever I'm feeling confused or stressed, I like writing about it. And the reason why this has helped so much is that, you know, there are lots of days, like, from my experience, like most of the days you wake up like it's a good day, you're smiling and everything is happy, but then like you get hit with a mood swing and then suddenly you're sad for like no reason. And it's okay to feel sad, and the one thing that you don't want to do is that you don't want to suppress it. So, you know, don't feel like you have to hold your emotions back. Like if you're sad, like for me, writing about my feelings has really helped a lot in terms of like lifting my spirits. Something else that I also do is that I love listening to music, and categorically they have divided my music that if I'm feeling like I'm having a really bad day, then I will listen to songs that are really sad, so just so I can understand myself better and like heal with, you know, as the music ends and then another one starts. So the one thing that I'd say is that you don't want to suppress your emotions like when they come. If you're feeling confused or whatnot, it's very, very important for you to find things that work for you. So for me, journaling has worked a lot, and also listening to music. Have you learned because of ADHD? I think the biggest lesson that I have learned is about self-acceptance. Main reason being, you know, with ADHD, like I said, it's very difficult like for me to focus on like very small menial tasks or like big tasks, and what that does is that it again like builds up to your stress levels, and then it's very, very easy for you to get stressed. But like one thing that I've learned, and like I think it's now becoming like my motto in life, is that you should always be yourself, because you'll have one less thing to worry about. And you know, with ADHD, like it's very easy for you to get triggered like with stress if you're worried about what you have to be, and then on top of that, who you have to be. So the minute that you become yourself, that's when you're able to carry out your tasks. And then now when it comes to carrying out the tasks, this is something that I learned at the previous law firm that I was working in, and they had this motto when doing tasks called biting the frog. Basically, what it means is that if you're ever doing something, start with the most difficult task. Then everything else will be a lot simpler. And for me, that really, really helped a lot, because you only know, okay, fine, if I start with this, like when I'm 100% myself, like I'll be able to break this problem down completely, and then the other ones below it will be easy to solve. But then if you build like from the bottom up, like you get stressed, and then you have this huge task, you'll wonder why you can't finish it, and then you get stressed, and then like your whole world will just come tumbling down. So when it comes to like performing tasks, always start with the most difficult task. It will make everything else a lot easier. Do I wish that I did not have ADHD? I think no. I wish I'm okay with who I am, and I think a big part of who I am is because of my ADHD. I mean, I think certainly a lot of my creative side is owed to like the ADHD, because something else that's quite characteristic with ADHD is that people who have it are often like really, really smart. And so for me, I mean, obviously, like I was able to pass my bar exams in the first time and whatnot, graduate and whatever. But then when it comes to like the creative side, like with my YouTube channel, I think I drew heavily from my ADHD, like to be able to get through that. So I mean, I'm okay with my ADHD because it's who I am. Does ADHD still affect me? Yes, it does. Like obviously it started a lot because I think when I was initially diagnosed and then I made the decision to stop taking the medication, like I obviously realized, like I think I had like some withdrawal side effects. My moods were just all over the place, and at the time when your hormones are already developing as a teenager, like I was literally like haywire. But to this day, I mean, it's been 12 years without the medication, and it still affects me to this day, like particularly now, like during the COVID-19 lockdown. And as I said, like the biggest lesson that I've learned is to be myself. And Robert, or Bob as my friends call me, is very extroverted. Like, I love meeting new people. I may forget their name, but I won't forget the experience. But I love just going out, meeting new people. And then now, like I'm being told that you can't go out, like it's very shocking. Like, and then if I'm all by myself, that's when it starts triggering like a lot of my mood swings back, right? Sometimes, like I still get like severe mood swings where I literally don't want to talk to anyone, and like for no good reason at all. But the only person that the only thing that I can have around me then it's like, you know, my music player or my cat, just because I don't have to talk to my cat. So I still get like a lot of the mood swings, like especially now, like it's been difficult, like you know, trying to wake up, trying to approach everything with a positive mindset, but then the mood swings, I think, are the one thing that really affect me. So whenever I can, feeling like that, you know, I've been updating my journal. It's really helped a lot, and then also just listening to music to calm me down depending on the mood that I'm experiencing. Like the one thing that has been able to help me get to this far is just like not suppressing my emotions. So yeah, that's the one way I think that my ADHD still affects me. In terms of my study, obviously I had to find like the right way of studying, because you know, at first, like I thought, you know, you go to school, you're supposed to be that kid who like reads alone and then becomes successful and then whatnot. But then remember, as I told you, like I'm very extroverted in nature. So how I incorporated that into my studies was that, you know, I'd read a little bit, like what I can, and then have a group discussion with my friends, just, you know, bounce off everyone's ideas, whatnot, and then go back and then complete reading. And if it wasn't for that study method that I adopted, like I don't think I would have graduated from university, and I don't think I would have made it through the bar school if I didn't like adapt those ways of studying. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at Muigai on Instagram, and I would be more than happy to answer any that you may have. If you want any questions about like my psychologist, like where I got my treatment, I'd be happy to share that with you through the platform just mentioned. And so yeah, I hope you have a very great day, and always remember, always be yourself, because you'll have one less thing to worry about. So bye.